Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm Vince Hall, and I am the CEO of Feeding San Diego, and we're very happy to have you all with us today. We have almost 250 people registered to participate in today's stakeholder webinar, which reflects a broad cross-section of national and local interests, including philanthropists and donors. It includes community partners who are so key to Feeding San Diego's work. It includes volunteers who are working in the community regularly to help us achieve our distribution goals. It includes food donors who have been generously supplying Feeding San Diego during this crisis. So to all of you who are taking an interest in this work and are helping us to meet our very, very aggressive goals, thank you, and welcome to today's conversation. So the agenda for today's call is we're going to provide a brief introduction to Feeding San Diego for those of you who may be joining us for the first time. And then we're going to address the core of what we're doing from three particular lenses. One is discussing the increased demand for services across San Diego County. The second is discussing food sourcing, which is all the ways that we reach out and find food. And the third is food distribution, which is the many ways which we distribute food in the community. And then finally, we're going to touch briefly on the status of our community support. And we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. So beginning then with our mission, Feeding San Diego's mission is to connect every person facing hunger with nutritious meals by maximizing food rescue. And our vision is a hunger-free and healthy San Diego. And I just want to underscore, as I do every time, that it is vitally important to Feeding San Diego that we not just address hunger from the standpoint of a calorie count, but that we address it from the standpoint of nutrition, making sure that people not only have enough to eat, but that they have the right kinds of foods to nourish their bodies and to remain healthy and resilient. I want to emphasize that our website has a special coronavirus response page, which is linked from the top of the banner of every one of our web pages. And there are ample resources on this web page for the community, including our very popular Food Finder map, which allows individuals to zoom in to the particular neighborhood of San Diego County that they live in, and they are able to very conveniently see all the food distributions that are within radius of their residence. This has proven to be an extremely popular resource for the community during the COVID-19 crisis. And today it became so popular that not long before we launched this communication with you, the web server went down. And so at this particular moment, Feeding San Diego's website is not operating. I want to assure you that there are people from throughout our organization and at the highest levels of the organization that hosts our website who are keenly aware of what an urgent situation this is and are working feverishly to restore service. But I think it is an undesirable situation, to say the least, but it is a very short and temporary situation, and it actually speaks to a certain degree to the extraordinary need that's been created in the community by the COVID-19 crisis. But once the website is up and running, this coronavirus response page will once again be accessible to the community, and it is being used at unprecedented scale for people to find food, but also generous San Diegans are making donations to Feeding San Diego through the website. There are restaurants, hotels, catering firms, grocery stores, and others who are donating food, and some of them are getting started through this website. And then, as you can see, there are people who are doing fundraisers for us. There are people accessing our social media toolkit and promoting our work, and people launching benefit campaigns. So there are a lot of resources on the website to help people help Feeding San Diego fulfill this vitally important mission. So that is the recap, and the next slide will take us to the discussion of the increasing demand for services across San Diego County. Now, many of you know that Feeding San Diego annually partners with Feeding America to conduct a Map the Meal Gap survey. And the Map the Meal Gap survey is an annual study of hunger in San Diego County that helps us to estimate, based on a number of factors, the number of people in our community who are struggling to find enough to eat. Last year's Map the Meal Gap study indicated that 1 out of every 8 people in San Diego County was struggling with hunger on a regular basis. I'm pleased to announce to you today that we will be updating that data the first week of June. So the first week of June, we will be announcing our new Map the Meal Gap study, which will give our best estimate as to the size and scope of the hunger crisis facing San Diego County. But for now, let me just say that we are estimating, based on a methodology presented to us by Feeding America, that the hunger rate in San Diego County has escalated dramatically in the last 52 days, from approximately 1 out of every 8 people to 1 out of every 6 people in the current situation. So it is mathematically a 50% increase in need that we're seeing across San Diego County. Now, why is that happening? Well, if you take a look at the data from Sandag, this is a study that was released 2 weeks ago, and it shows that unemployment in San Diego County as of 2 weeks ago had reached almost 25% of our population. That report also made clear that given the trend line, it was expected to continue to increase. So it is incredibly safe to assume that at this moment, the unemployment rate is above 25%, and we have no reason to think that there has been any immediate relief in terms of people being able to get back to work. The consequences of unemployment are devastating for anybody in any job, but it is especially hard hitting for the working poor. It is working families who are in the lowest paid jobs who are suffering the greatest consequences, and many families who their income was based on San Diego's very large travel and tourism economy, or based on the very large sector of retail sales or personal care services. All of those sectors have suffered extreme job losses, and many people who are technically not unemployed at this moment are in reality underemployed and earning far less than they were previously earning prior to the COVID-19 crisis. This has significant economic consequences because especially for families that didn't have adequate savings or perhaps had credit card debt, almost all of these families have been struggling to afford housing in San Diego's very expensive housing market. So there has been an economic fragility to many working families' households, and the loss of 1 job or 2 jobs within that household, sometimes 3 jobs, has propelled those families from being in a place of food security to a place of insecurity. Many people were living middle-class lives, the first week of March. Now, tragically, find themselves struggling just to put food on the table for their children. And so the need continues to rise. There are some optimistic signs from certain federal relief programs, which we'll be talking about a little bit later in this presentation. But the top line statement on the increased demand for services is that we are seeing, on average, a 50% increase in need. Unfortunately for us, that increase is not well balanced across all of our 300 plus distribution sites. With some sites, we are seeing less than a 50% increase. At other sites, we're seeing as much as a 4-fold increase in the number of families that are showing up. So it presents extraordinary logistical challenges, not just for Feeding San Diego, but for the 170 faith-based and charitable organizations who we partner with across the county, who are such critical participants in our hunger relief efforts. So let me move on then to food sourcing. Food sourcing is best described as, where do we get food? And it is a complicated question, but I'm going to give you some of the top view highlights. The first slide shows you the growth in purchased food by Feeding San Diego. You know, our normal business model is focused on food rescue. In a typical year, 97% of the food that Feeding San Diego distributes to the community has been rescued before it goes to the waste system. But it is food that, were we not there with our community partners rescuing that food, it would end up in the landfill. So we have been very successful at building a food rescue model. Unfortunately, with the advent of the COVID crisis, the availability of food to be rescued has gone down as much as 30% in the last few weeks. The principal reasons for that are consumer demand. That is to say that shoppers have been clearing out grocery store shelves in unprecedented ways, though that is starting to stabilize, and we're starting to see grocery store retail rescue trending upward, which is a very positive and encouraging development. There have also been disruptions in the supply chain, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But one of the solutions that Feeding San Diego has turned to compensate for decreased retail rescue food is purchased product. Yesterday, we announced that in just the last 7.5 weeks, we had purchased 125 truckloads of food. And as of this moment, that number has increased to 133 truckloads in the last 52 days. Typically, we would only purchase about 24 truckloads of food per year. So in a 2-month period, that would be 4 truckloads of food. So at a time when we would normally purchase 4, we have purchased 133 at a cost of about $4.7 million. So that has been an extraordinary source of hunger relief across San Diego County, because at a time when retail rescue declined, demand for food in the community significantly increased, and also the type of demand for food has changed. In normal times, the families that we're serving typically have some money to put toward food, and they make rational economic choices about how they spend that money. They buy the most number of calories per dollar that they can. Unfortunately, that is not always the best nutritional choice for the family. And so Feeding San Diego puts a heavy premium on delivering fresh fruits and vegetables to complement what the family is able to afford on their own. About 75 to 80% of our distribution center capacity is devoted to fresh fruits and vegetables during normal times. But now, during the COVID-19 crisis, we have had to, as you just saw, purchase 133 truckloads of shelf-stable product, which is a food banker term. Shelf-stable product just means canned and boxed goods that don't need to be refrigerated, can be stored for long periods of time. And the reason that that has become important is not just to compensate for the decreased retail rescue. It is also because many families now are flat broke, and they are turning to us for the totality of their dietary needs. So supplemental produce is still incredibly important, but they are looking for canned proteins like chicken and tuna and peanut butter and lentils and other products, because many of these families are turning to us not just for supplemental produce, but for the whole of their dietary needs. So the purchased product is helping us to address both of those significant challenges. Now, it's really important for me to point out that the national food distribution system, which 4 weeks ago on this call I described it as being sound, is now experiencing some very difficult disruptions. There have been highly publicized closures of meat packing facilities. The poultry industry has been hit with some plant closures. There are numerous places in the food processing and distribution system that closures have happened. because of the really high level of consumer demand at grocery stores, there have also been extraordinary burdens placed on the wholesale food system. That is to say that people are buying truckloads of food as fast as they can. And so we end up essentially in competition with grocery stores and others who are trying to stock their shelves just as much as we're trying to stock our shelves. So prices are higher, and also delivery cycles are elongated. And one of the reasons we have ordered so much food is that much of that 133 truckloads of food will not be delivered to our distribution center in San Diego until June, July, and even August. So because of the difficulty in sourcing food, and because of the generosity of San Diegans who are donating to Feeding San Diego and helping us to meet our mission requirements, we have been able and have been, by necessity, ordering food that is not going to be delivered to our distribution center until as late as August. So the good news is that we have been able to raise the funds necessary to purchase these truckloads of food. The better news is that during June and July and August, during those summer months when it's going to be very difficult to purchase food, we will be receiving load after load after load after load of purchased product that was ordered during the last few weeks of this period. So that's a great investment of community resources toward a stabilized system of food distribution over the next 3 or more months, and we will continue to embark on that strategy. So that's purchased product. The next slide discusses retail rescue. Now, as those of you who are familiar with Feeding San Diego know, our very, very robust retail rescue program captures about 12 million pounds of food per year across San Diego County. There's about another 12+ million pounds per year that we rescue outside of San Diego County that I'll talk about in just a moment. The food that we rescue in county comes from about 228 retailers, most of whom are grocery stores, and that encompasses nearly every major grocery store brand in San Diego County, from Barron's Markets to Walmart, Sam's Club, Target, Ralph's, Food for Less, Sprouts, who's a great partner, and you know, all of these retailers, and I apologize to those that I didn't mention, they are all playing a really, really critical role in helping us to rescue food that would frankly otherwise go to the landfill, which is a terrible waste and also a dangerous factor in greenhouse gas emissions, because food waste is one of the leading generators of methane and CO2 emissions from landfills. So rescuing food at all of those stores is a critical part of our mission, but it also serves an environmental purpose as well. We also rescue food, by the way, from farmers and brokers, from manufacturers. We have 207 Starbucks stores in San Diego County that we rescue food from. That number has shrunk to 77 stores that are operating right now because they have drive-through lanes. All the non-drive-through lane stores have been closed for the last few weeks, but Starbucks is going to reopen by the end of this month all of their retail, or nearly all of their retail locations, and they have adopted some critical COVID-safe measures to allow people to order on their app, to enter the store, pick up their order, and leave, minimizing risk to their staff and their customers. So the good news for Feeding San Diego is that we will be seeing a significant increase in the amount of donated product from Starbucks stores, as anything that they sell, panini sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, protein boxes, fruit, dairy, all of those products that reach the best buy date will be donated to Feeding San Diego on a nightly basis. And that is a great source of balanced nutrition for the communities that we serve. Typically, we rescue food at 19 San Diego Unified School District site central prep kitchens. And so there are multiple donors in multiple places. All in all, this whole retail rescue is now operating at about 70% of normal capacity. So we're rescuing about 70% of what we normally rescue. That sounds bad, but honestly, it's much better than it could have been given the sharp increase in consumer demand at grocery stores. And all of that retail rescue is performed by charitable and faith-based partners throughout the county. So to our agency partners who are on this call, thank you. Thank you so much for making this incredible hunger relief engine work. We simply couldn't do it without you. I just want to note quickly on the next slide that there are other local food industry partners who are not retailers, but are still a critical food donation source. And Chosen Foods has brought wonderful products into our distribution center, much of which is coming from Mexico. Dole Food Company, you can see the large yellow ship pictured, which you'll see those yellow ships down by the convention center. Those ships are mainly bringing bananas in, and mainly from Ecuador. And every shipment, there is a certain amount of product that, for a variety of reasons, gets donated to Feeding San Diego. And they are beautiful bananas, and they're in great shape, and they're perfectly nutritious and delicious, and the community loves them, kids love them. So we really thank Dole Food Company for their support. Suja Juice is a great donor. The San Diego County Farm Bureau is working with us right now on a program to source food from local farms. San Diego County has the largest number of organic farms of any county in the United States of America. And we are looking to increase the amount of food that we are receiving from San Diego County farms, because it not only helps us to fulfill our hunger relief mission, but it helps to keep those farms viable as they move through a period of time when there are significantly less shoppers showing up at farmers markets, and there's disruptions in the retail process. So we really thank the Farm Bureau for their leadership. And then finally, there are large brokerage houses on Otay Mesa which import a lot of produce from Mexico. And every day those brokers call us and make donations of fresh produce that is nearing its maximum ripeness. But they're able to get it to us, and we can get it out to the community, usually within 24 hours. And we really appreciate those brokerage house partnerships from down on the border in Otay Mesa. So that covers what we're rescuing in San Diego County. I want to show you now the California Association of Food Banks, of which we're a member, and I actually am now serving on the board of directors of. Has been a great source of produce for us for many, many years. But as you can see on this bar graph, the amount of produce that we're able to bring into San Diego County from farmers and growers up and down the state, 225 farms and packing sheds up and down the state of California, has grown quite significantly over the last few months. And that's by design. We really recognize that there is a tremendous need in the community, and we're trying to meet that need by increasing our capacity and increasing our food sourcing. We're getting onions and potatoes from as far away as Idaho and Washington State. We're getting apples from as far away as Washington State. But most of the California Association of Food Banks Farm to Family program is California growers and California producers. And these are crops that are surplus, there's no buyer, or often these are packing shed sort. And if you look at those carrots that are shown on the slide, you'll notice how long and skinny they are. The packing sheds have to sort out food that is odd sized, odd shaped, or odd colored, and then they donate to us. The key thing, by the way, about that is that whether it is a surplus crop or it is packing shed sort, it is brand new produce. It is absolutely at the peak of freshness. It's delicious and nutritious, and we're really happy to bring that into San Diego County to complement what we're able to source from San Diego growers. You also see pictured there food boxes. Now, the state of California has been allocating funds to the California Association of Food Banks to buy these boxes, which are pre-filled with a variety of shelf-stable products, including pasta and pasta sauce, canned fruit, canned vegetables, some grains, oats, and all of those items. We receive those boxes. We don't have to assemble them. We don't need volunteers. They come pre-populated with all the foods that are needed. We just received a shipment this morning, and so far we have received 3,375 of these boxes. And we're going to be sending these particular boxes to our distribution at SDCCU Stadium this Saturday morning, this coming Saturday. So those boxes will get out. And I really want to thank and salute the California Association of Food Banks for their work on that. And Assemblymember Todd Gloria has been the champion of advocating for continued funding of this food box program. And we thank Assemblyman Gloria for his leadership in that. I mean, literally of all 120 state legislators, he has been the key champion on sustaining and expanding that food box program. So we covered local food rescue, we covered state food rescue initiatives, and I just want to end the food sourcing discussion by mentioning the CFAP program. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced this program about 2 weeks ago, and it was in response to the fact that the media was showing Americans images of vast quantities of farm products being destroyed. Dairy producers pouring milk down the drain, farmers tilling onions, tomatoes, and other crops right back into the soil. And the USDA allocated $3 billion in an effort to get as much of that farm product as possible out into the community. So there was a mad scramble in the last week to try to partner organizations that could take that farm product, package it for consumers, and distribution organizations like Feeding San Diego, who can actually then receive it from the packagers and get it out through the supply chain to families in need. So we ended up becoming a part of 6 different bids from organizations who are seeking to capture that farm product and deliver it to a distribution organization. So we are the distribution half of that equation. And we will know, hopefully by the end of this week, whether any of the 6 partnerships that we joined in an effort to get CFAP food were successful. But this is a temporary program. It is funded on a one-time basis, and it would really help us out a lot because it would be food that would be coming to us at no charge that we could then share with our distribution partners all across San Diego County. Okay, well, enough about food sourcing. I'm going to move now and talk briefly about food distribution, highlight some of the changes since the last time we spoke 2 weeks ago. Again, you can see our food distribution map, which is on our website. This shows you countywide all the locations that Feeding San Diego is distributing food. And we made an early decision in the COVID crisis to stabilize the food distribution network. We did not want to do distribution sites that would be available one time and then not available again in the future. We wanted to make sure that at a time when so many people in the community are struggling with food insecurity on so many levels, that they would not have to start each day wondering, well, where is the food going to be distributed today? So we have, since week 2 of this crisis, had a stabilized distribution structure that includes regional emergency distribution sites that I'll talk about in a moment. It includes a drive-through distribution methodology at almost all our sites to keep people safe. We discussed that 2 weeks ago on this call. It includes our very robust rural mobile pantry system that is providing urgently needed hunger relief to vulnerable East County communities. It's providing an ever-expanding network of youth meal sites where cars can access drive-through lanes that allow them to state the number of youth in their family and receive prepared meals for the youth, and in some cases receive a supplemental food box that provides other nutrition for the whole family, not just the youths. One of the highlights of this distribution system is that we have over 300 distribution sites across the county. Where there is a yellow dot, we're working with a distribution partner, typically a local charity or faith-based organization. When members of the community access those yellow dot sites, we ask that they click on the dot, a contact number appears, and they should call and confirm any eligibility requirements or any changes to the location and day and time of the distribution. The blue sites are sites that we're operating ourselves, as are the purple sites, the youth meal sites. So there's no particular reason to call ahead on those. The youth meal sites obviously are for people 18 and under. Changes to this distribution since 2 weeks ago. One is that San Diego Unified continues to expand the number of school sites where they are operating drive-through lanes. And at more than half of those sites, Feeding San Diego is there to complement the prepared meals that are being served, which is a breakfast and a lunch for youth. We're providing a food box that's providing other nutrition to serve the entire family, including obviously parents of the youth who are accessing youth meals. At other youth meal sites, we do not have a school district partner, and it is Feeding San Diego directly providing the prepared meals for youth. And often we are able to identify those sites through partner organizations like the Ocean Discovery Institute in City Heights, who do a fabulous job, or Vista Community Clinic in North County. So some youth meal sites are done in partnership with school districts. Some are Feeding San Diego just directly providing those meals. And we're really proud to be partnered with San Diego Unified in adding Linda Vista Elementary. Hats off to Escondido Union School District and Cajon Valley School District for also partnering with Feeding San Diego on this valuable program. And then I also want to give a shout out to Courage to Call, because Courage to Call has increased the amount of food that is being distributed to active duty military and veteran families across the county. We've expanded from 250 households to 400 households, and continue to grow that program as part of Feeding San Diego's Feeding Heroes initiative. The next slide just reviews the regional emergency distribution sites, which we created in the first week of this COVID-19 crisis. These are not fundamentally different than most of our other distribution sites, except that we made a volitional effort to open high capacity drive-through lanes on a regional basis. So we have North Coastal, North Inland, Central, Southeastern San Diego, South Bay, and East County. These sites are serving the community with high capacity distributions. I was at the SDCCU Stadium distribution last Saturday, which we operate in partnership with the San Diego and Imperial Counties Labor Council. We had capacity for 1,100 cars, and we served just over 1,000. So we actually were able to serve every family that showed up, and would ask your help in alerting the community to that opportunity to access food, because we will be right back there this coming Saturday at 9 a.m. with the Labor Council. These other partners, the Jacob Center for Neighborhood Innovation, Community Through Hope, Brother Benno, and First Congregational Church of Ramona, they have really been doing a fabulous job of operating these distribution sites and helping us to serve a very, very significant number of cars, and it seems to grow each week at most of these sites. So in summary, since March 14th, Feeding San Diego and its partners have distributed 3.5 million meals worth of food. That's as of May 1st. This is, an extraordinary amount of food that's being distributed to help serve the community. That particular number does not include all of our youth meal sites or the meals that are generated by the folks that we're able to sign up for the CalFresh program, which is something we're going to talk about next. So let's go to the CalFresh slide. May is CalFresh month. This is a month every year where Feeding San Diego, in partnership with the San Diego Hunger Coalition, work to educate the community about the value of the CalFresh program. We actually receive a partial reimbursement on the cost of signing people up for CalFresh benefits from the Hunger Coalition. We thank them for that partnership. CalFresh, for those that don't know, is the California version of the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is a federally funded program formerly known as food stamps. But of course, we don't use stamp booklets anymore. Participants receive an EBT card, and they can use that card much like a debit card at the checkout stand to pay for the groceries each month. And then automatically at the beginning of each month, the card is recharged with a new cash balance. There have been very significant changes to the food stamp CalFresh program during this COVID-19 crisis. And some of those changes are highlighted on this slide. The families are going to get the maximum benefit allowance for their family size. That families can now purchase online groceries using their EBT card at select retailers. A majority of the interview requirements have been waived. Certain reporting requirements have been waived. Telephonic enrollment is now possible without a signature. And eligibility redetermination has been waived for 90 days. These are extraordinarily helpful to families that are struggling with hunger during this crisis. And all of us on this call really should be asking ourselves, what more can we do to help educate the community about CalFresh? Because shockingly, San Diego and California do not come anywhere near the enrollment rates from the eligible population that some other places in the country do. And I know that our partners at the County of San Diego take this very seriously and are working really hard in partnership with us and the Hunger Coalition and others to try to bring that enrollment rate up as rapidly as possible, to the degree that we actually have a county employee stationed full-time here in Feeding San Diego's offices, helping us to process CalFresh applications. And that really is a critical part of our ability to get people enrolled as quickly as possible, sometimes on the same day. So thank you. And lastly, I'm very pleased to announce that the Board of Directors of Feeding San Diego has created an agency capacity grant program, which is funded in the amount of $150,000. I mentioned earlier just how incredibly vital the local faith-based and charitable organizations that we partner with are to the success of the overall mission of Feeding San Diego. Many of those local charities and faith-based organizations struggle to buy basic capital equipment like cold storage, vans for food rescue, shelving. So we are going to be operating this agency capacity grant program. Our partners at the San Diego Hunger Coalition recently surveyed all of the hunger relief food pantries across the county and are assessing their needs. We are going to rely on this research from the Hunger Coalition to help make informed decisions about how to issue approximately $150,000 in agency capacity grants, which will be used to purchase necessary infrastructure to help our partners fulfill our shared mission. You see illustrated there two orange vans, which were received through a grant we got from Cal Recycle, a state agency. And I discussed those vans on an earlier call, but they are shown here just to illustrate the fact that capacity grants means capital equipment. It's not going to food purchases. It is going to the infrastructure of food rescue and distribution that helps us to fulfill our mission. So if you are representing an agency, we will be in touch with you about the capacity grant program. The next section of this presentation, and thank you, by the way, for those of you that are submitting questions. Some of those questions are being answered online as we move through the presentation. But if you wish to ask questions, please use the Q&A function of the Zoom window. There's a question and answer function associated with the Zoom window. To discuss the status of our community support, I would like to reintroduce our Chief Development and Marketing Officer, Gavin Morris. Gavin, please take it away.
Thanks so much, Vince. As mentioned, we're doing some incredible work in the community, and that is being fueled by all of our generous support from the community. And whether it's a one-time gift of $1 up to $1 million, people are stepping forward in new ways, and the community is really coming together. In total, since March 13th, there's been 8,500 donors, just 8,500. A huge number of them are individuals that are supporting us in various ways, whether it's a one-time gift or a monthly gift or organizing a fund drive. Everyone is really stepping up and supporting us in new and exciting ways. We also have a great deal of corporate support, as well as foundations and some organizations, from local Rotaries to the David C. Copley Foundation. Everyone is really coming forward and investing in our COVID-19 response efforts. And out of all of those donors to date, almost 4,300 of them are new to the organization, which is deeply inspiring and moving when we are so focused on delivering services in the community that people see the need and they want to help us do even more. And also I wanted to highlight that the average gift online is about $190. Moving on to the next slide. As I mentioned, we've received so much incredible support from the community and with so many supporters that I can't possibly name every single one. But on this slide, it includes our lead corporate and foundation partners who have made gifts to the COVID-19 Response Fund of $10,000 or more. And most recently, in particular, I wanted to call out Booz Allen Hamilton for making a very sizable investment in our work, and also to the Rancho Santa Fe Foundation for their North County COVID-19 response in collaboration with Leech Tag Foundation and the Coastal Community Foundation. That was really amazing to get that gift that will help us continue our work in North County. And finally, I also wanted to call out Calpine Energy Solutions, who also made an incredible investment in our work. Really exciting that we continue to be in various conversations and people are letting us know that they really want to help us to scale our services. And that's been mentioned, especially with our strategy in securing additional purchase product, this is only possible through support from the community. So as much as we've received so much support, we really need to bring in additional dollars in order to continue to sustain our work. One of the fun ways that people are getting involved and rallying behind the cause are through various benefit campaigns and fund drives. Our friends at Switchfoot have been running their home food challenge primarily on Instagram as a way to raise awareness of our work and encourage people to make gifts. That's something really exciting. And then also Target is an incredible corporate partner of ours. And it's a really easy way if you're shopping in the stores to use their Target Circle app, which you can download and select Feeding San Diego as your charity of choice. And with every sale, we get a percentage of that goes back to Feeding San Diego. So in addition to that, there are numerous individuals and families that have stepped forward in really meaningful ways, whether it be organizing an individual fundraising drive for us or setting up an online fundraiser and inviting friends and colleagues to make gifts. People are really doing a great job at that. Again, very widespread community support that is coming together during this difficult time. And finally, I wanted to also point out that today is Giving Tuesday. Many of you are probably familiar. This normally follows Thanksgiving on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone is coming together, including many nonprofit organizations throughout the community to celebrate this day of giving. And so one of the ways to support Feeding San Diego, in addition to a financial gift, would be joining us tonight on social media. We actually are holding a virtual progressive dinner party on Instagram Live with some incredible chefs, Jojo Ruiz, Angelo Sosa, and Brian Malarkey. And this will be hosted by Troy Johnson with the Food Network, and he's also a member of our Feeding San Diego Entertainment Council. So this starts at 6 p.m. on Instagram. It's for half an hour. Great way for these amazing chefs to share a special dish with us, just to raise awareness of hunger and funds for Feeding San Diego. So hopefully you all can join us for that this evening. And just as a reminder, we continue to rely on food donations from the community. Most recently, Happy Day Brands had donated over 130,000 servings of oats that we're very quickly distributing out to the community. Really fantastic partnership. And just if individuals or companies that are interested in making food donations, please contact our sourcing department. Letty Rodriguez can field those questions. Her information is on this slide, and it's also available on our website at feedingsandiego.org. And as another reminder, sometimes the best way that people can support our efforts is to help raise awareness of Feeding San Diego and the issue of hunger in the community. As Vince mentioned, with these staggering statistics, with a 50% increase in hunger in the community, it's just astounding. And so one of the ways that you might be able to do that is to log onto our website, and we have a full social media toolkit with different badges and images that you can download and share with family and friends. And now I would like to introduce you to our Director of Marketing and Communications, Dana Williams, who's going to share some news about a very special initiative.
Hey everyone. Over the last number of months, I've had the honor to work with one of our valued partners, Swinnerton Renewable Energy, and Jennifer Hirschman in particular, on co-writing the curriculum for a brand new Girl Scout patch called Climate Controller. And we launched the patch in honor of the 50th anniversary of Earth Month. And we did so in partnership with Girl Scouts San Diego, Swinnerton Renewable Energy, and ourselves. And the patch is intended to inspire girls to learn about the linkage between food waste and climate change, and how to empower them with knowledge and information about how they can become a climate controller through food rescue. And I'm proud to say that the patch was endorsed by the United Nations Environment Program, as well as the San Diego Association, or the United Nations Association of San Diego, because the patch addresses a number of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, including no hunger, climate action, sustainable cities, and partnerships, which was really exciting. And as you've heard on this call, due to COVID-19, more people than ever before are experiencing hunger. And so it's really heightening the importance of food rescue. And we hope that through this patch, while we all search for ways for how we can help, that this patch will inspire young girls with the knowledge and information they need to help be a part of the solution. And this patch can be earned virtually. So, yes. Thank you.
And now I will turn it back over to our CEO.
Thank you, Dana. And as the father of a former Girl Scout, thank you so much for your great work in putting that patch together. And thank you, Swinnerton and the Girl Scouts and the United Nations. It's just a heartwarming collaboration. And at a time when so many young people are experiencing frustration at not being able to see their friends, at being isolated in their homes, it's really encouraging to all of us that Feeding San Diego can partner with these esteemed organizations and offer youth an opportunity to learn and grow and participate from home in earning this Girl Scout patch. It's really a very commendable program, and thank you, Dana, for your leadership on that. So we're going to take a few questions. We're nearing the top of the hour, and if you have a question, please type it into the question and answer box that is linked at the bottom of the screen. And I want to say that at the end of the Q&A, we're going to show two very short videos. One is a testimonial from one of the individuals who was accessing food at SDCCU Stadium last Saturday. Some of our funders have asked us to interview participants in our programs, to hear their voices or add their voices to the narrative of what's going on in the community. And some of them have very generously agreed to do so. You'll find multiple interviews on our YouTube channel, the Feeding San Diego YouTube channel, and we're going to show you one of those. We also have a fun video that was filmed by one of our staff members, which shows you our volunteer warehouse and operations departments in full operation. So if you've ever wondered what it looks like inside the San Diego, the Feeding San Diego Distribution Center, you're going to get a visual tour of those three departments and see the heart of what we do at the distribution center in this video. So, okay, questions. The first question is, how are the numbers changing? Are there more folks in need or less? That is easy to answer. We are seeing more individuals in need every week. I think on this call 4 weeks ago, I said that we were averaging a 40% increase in demand. And we estimate now that that increase has risen to 50%. When we release our Map the Meal Gap data the first week of June, we'll have a much more scientific look at the size and scope of food insecurity across San Diego County. But honestly, it's hard, because if you think about the way food distributions work, it's easy to count how many people are served. It is harder to count how many people are not served, because once people see that the distribution is exhausted, they tend to drive away. And that is more true in our COVID safe distribution methodologies, where we're keeping people in their cars, we're keeping the windows up. And so when the distribution ends, people tend to just leave the area. So we're doing the best we can to estimate the growing need, but we will have a more scientifically based answer for you coming up in the beginning of first week of June. A very old friend of mine, Sue Naslund, who I know from many years ago, said our distributions, and she's referring to the Bethlehem Food Pantry in El Cajon, our distributions have grown from 90 to 195 families each Saturday during the pandemic. We love Feeding San Diego and appreciate the food you have given our organization to pass along to the community. Your staff is incredible. Please pass along our thanks. Well, thank you, Sue. That's very sweet and very kind, and that will mean a lot to our staff, because they're working so hard right now to try to help you, the Bethlehem Food Pantry, and so many other faith-based and charitable nonprofits to fulfill their mission. And for you to increase the size of your distribution from 90 to 195 in just a few weeks is a real testament to your commitment and to the commitment of your volunteers. And you know, we're all working on this together. This is a shared project, a shared initiative to solve hunger at a time of rapidly escalating demand. And I know, Sue, that you will agree with me that when you provide food to somebody who has no money and is struggling with big issues, big questions like, when will I be able to get a job? I have somebody in my family who's sick with COVID. How are they going to fare? How do we keep ourselves safe? There's so much of an air of uncertainty about this current crisis that when you provide food, you provide nourishment. It is almost visceral reaction that people have, because you're providing more than just nutrition. You're providing hope. You're providing a sense of community. You're providing an assurance that we are all in this together, and that those of us that have something to give are going to have the backs of those who are suffering. And none of us knows from one week to the next where we're going to be on that spectrum, but we as a community can get through this if we keep our eye on that sense of common shared purpose and service. So thank you, Sue Naslund, for all that you do. I see no other questions in the queue, and we are very close to the top of the hour. So I'm going to say goodbye, but we are going to show these two. Oh, well, okay, sorry. We just had a comment from a volunteer who said, please recognize the hardy truck drivers who come all the way out to Borrego Springs, which is a minimum 2-hour drive, and now into the heat. We so appreciate your food delivery in our small and rural town. Well, thank you. That's very, very kind. And we are very, very committed to Borrego Springs. It is every bit as much a part of this county and this community as Mira Mesa, which is next door to us. So we understand that it's a long way, and it does get hot. I think, please stay safe. I think it's going to be 106 in Borrego Springs tomorrow. But those communities are incredibly important to us. And it is a long drive, it is expensive, but we're very, very committed to being a hunger relief agency that serves the entirety of our county and not just the urban and suburban areas. And Rosie Vasquez, another one of our community heroes who runs Community Through Hope and does just an unbelievable job in Chula Vista, said, do we have any data mining that will help distribution sites plan ahead for the coming months of COVID-19? Do you envision this style of drive-through lasting months or a year? I think on the data mining, we will have more information when we have our Map the Meal Gap information the first week of June. It is not clear to us to what extent and at what speed employment is going to recover and people are going to be able to go back to work. But I think that's going to be one of the major drivers of understanding how long this process is going to continue. And you said, do you envision this style of drive-throughs lasting months or years? I think the drive-through style is going to have to last as long as the virus is an active risk of transmission. And we are relying very heavily on our public health officials at the County of San Diego, at the California Department of Public Health, at the Centers for Disease Control, for the best information about when it will be safe to move back from drive-through distributions to other forms of food distribution. But we're not going to move 1 day, 1 hour before all of the public health officials assure us that it's the appropriate, safe, and right thing to do. And then somebody asked, do you need any more volunteers? Well, in our distribution center, we're relying on highly trained volunteers who are with us, normally supervising community volunteers, but they're doing the actual food work themselves. We also have gotten incredible help from the County Office of Emergency Services, who, by the way, are doing an incredible job coordinating the entirety of the county's emergency response. But they have given us access to teams from CERT, the CERT program, who are highly trained volunteers. They've given us access to volunteers through VOAD, which is largely faith-based organizations, but also Red Cross and others who come together in the wake of disasters and provide support. And those VOAD teams have been incredibly helpful. So at this moment, we're not recruiting community volunteers for the distribution center because we have the stable supply of more highly trained volunteers that come on a very regular basis and are able to acclimate to our specific needs. But I will say that our distribution sites out in the community, many of them are seeking additional volunteers, and your help would be welcome, I think, at many of those community distribution sites. So when our website is functional, there will be a link under the volunteer resource tab to a countywide volunteer resource site where all the local distribution sites are encouraged to post if they wish to have more community volunteers at those distributions. So that will be a link under the volunteer resource tab of our website once our website is back online. So that's all the questions I see in the Q&A box, and we are over time on the 1 hour. So I want to show you these 2 videos. You don't have to stay for them if you don't want to. We hope to see you 2 weeks from now for the next Unite Stakeholder call. I thank you so much for being a part of this today. To have 250 respondents was really encouraging that this is a valuable resource to you. Please let us know what more we can do with this time to make it useful to you. Email us at info@feedingsandiego.org and let us know what you would like to get from these presentations, if there's anything more we can do. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you to Dana and Gavin for participating. And I will say goodbye, and then we're going to show you these 2 videos. Thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of your week.
I believe that it's very important. It's just some people can't get down here to even get their groceries. I'm here going for an older lady that lives in my mom's apartment complex. So hopefully everything will work out. But I believe it's a very, very important, important dynamic for San Diego. We got a lot of homeless, we got a lot of elderly. I try not to let it affect me too much, but I mean, it put me out of a job. can't go anywhere, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the normal San Diego that I'm used to.